Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that everyone after registration have participated in a webinar, which is on sleep as an immunity booster by Professor Arpita Priyadarshini, who is a fellow in American Academy of Sleep Medicine and head Department of Physiology in Bhoi Medical College and Hospital, Balangir, Odisha. And today, during the session, the methods for a good sleep and assessment for sleep quality will be covered by ma'am. And thank you, Arpita ma'am.
Thank you
And
so much. Thank you so
and
much.
we are extremely happy to request you for your presentation and enlighten us on the topic.
Thank you so much, Madam Alina. It's really a pleasure to again work with you. Can you? So the topic is, can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So topic is, I'm going to speak is sleep as an immune booster. So the pillars of good health is definitely food, that's nutrition, exercise, but don't forget sleep. So the tripod of life on which health is nutrition, exercise, and sleep. People are aware of nutrition, they're aware of exercise, but very few are aware about the magic and the miracle, what the sleep can do for health. So sleep is as important as nutrition and exercise. So just to give you a clue to it, as all of us know, could fast. He fasted for 21 days and nothing happened to him. He was still stronger. But it was Randy Gardner who recorded that not sleeping for more than 11 days can harm your survival. So you cannot live without sleeping. So which is more important, whether you're fasting or you're sleeping? So sleeping is more important. So what is the sleep? For everything, you have a marker. So suppose you want to know about the work of a heart, there are markers for it. So the sleep is a marker of brain. The brain is hidden by skull. Even the MRIs and the CT scan cannot find the nitty-gritties of such a complex circuits. But on the whole, sleep, if you have a good sleep, your sleep status, your sleep, I would say, your ingredient of sleep can tell you whether your brain is functioning properly or not. So in short, a very powerful line, sleep is of the brain, by the brain, and for the brain. That's very, very important. Though sleep is by the brain and of the brain and for the brain, the whole body is the beneficiary. Because of sleep, your nervous system, your heart, your lungs, your muscles, your urinary system, your digestive system, name any system, even your skin, your hair and nails, they get the benefit from sleep. So I think most of you are not doctors. Just to tell you how important is sleep, the function of sleep, restoration and recovery. So if you recover from something, maybe your infection, maybe your stress, you recover, you swing back to action. Do you think you did it? No, it was you slept. That is why you could restore and recover from whatever stress you had earlier. You conserve energy by sleeping. Think of the world which is not sleeping now, and think of a person awake for a long time, definitely will need more and more food. It washes out our emotions. Emotion is a very important part of mind. And as we are becoming more emotional nowadays and more mind work, unless we sleep, will never have a whiteboard in the mind in the morning where we can write something fresh. Synaptic downscaling, this is very important. We have so many synapses, and which gets created every day by our day-to-day activities. Our learning, our behavior, new synapses are formed that creates a lot of knots in your brain, in your nerves. So those useless knots, which is not required for you, you know, who is going to untie those knots? These knots are untied by sleep. The useless knots we make in our mind while working. And discharge of emotion through dreams. This is very important. Many times, many ask, why do we dream? I call it as if it's like a pressure, in a pressure cooker, we have a valve which gives you the siren. So dream is like that. When you're full with emotions, you need a passive those extra pressure to go out. And dream is a wonderful way to see a whole movie or a video without paying for it. Memory. We human beings are what we are because we have memory, both long-term and short-term. The short-term memory conversion to long-term memory is so important, and it is done by sleep. If this is lost, as we see in Alzheimer's and dementia, if you see a dementia case where you're losing your name, what's happening around you, if you trace the sleep history, the memory is again attacked by sleep loss and deranged sleep. Then what does sleep do? Brain repair. Many people think the heart is broken every time. Actually, it's a brain broken most of the time. So take care of your broken brain by sleep. And the topic which I'm going to speak, which is the last in the function of sleep, till today, it was last. But as we know, we are going through this pandemic. We are now more interested in an original fighting, internal fighting, which can fight any invaders. That is, how do we boost immune function? Many of us are reading many articles on it, but little did we know that the simple sleep helps to boost our function. So, in short, taking these points, I would make a case that sleep is important not only for health, but for survival. Now, sleep is a arbitrary thing, it's a qualitative thing. No one can quantify it. But the quantification of sleep, the research in quantifying, assessing sleep started as early as 1875, 1929, when Hans Berger recorded the first EEG. And then it was slowly modified. Till 1967, we had a full range of physiological parameters which we could assess during sleep. And basically they were EEG, electroencephalogram, EOG, and ECG and EMG. So many parameters could be assessed at the same time, and the whole machine is known as polysomnography. So in the polysomnography, what we record basically is about the sleep architecture. Now, as many of you are non-doctors, I would now show you that the EEG records these ups and downs, and they are called waves, and it has a pattern. Every chaos, it seems a chaos to every one of us, but if we study chaos, as most of you IITians are doing, each chaos has a pattern, and if we study it, that this pattern follows it. For example, a sleep consists of two parts. It has got two parts. One is a non-rapid eye movement sleep, and the other one is a rapid eye movement sleep. The non-rapid eye movement sleep are staged into, in one classification is staged into 4, in another classification is staged into 3. So in short, in your sleep, you must have 50 to 70 minutes of non-rapid eye movement sleep followed by 15 to 20 minutes of REM sleep. So the non-REM and the REM sleep should continue for 90 minutes in a cycle, and it should repeat 4 to 5 times throughout the sleep. That is how, if you remember, you cleaning your tape recorders, you had a cleaning system, you used to put for 45 minutes. And so also, to clean your brain, to make it all clean, you need sleep, and which consists of these two portions, the non-rapid eye movement and the rapid eye movement. And they have to happen in a pattern. It is not arbitrary. So you have to sleep 50 to 70 minutes in non-rapid eye movement, and it happens naturally. You don't do anything. If you have a good lifestyle, which I'll be talking about, the sleep hygiene, and if your quality of sleep is good, definitely you will have all these features which are very healthy. Now, this is a normal polysomnography report, where you see the red are for non-REM sleep, and those black ones, as you see, they are REM sleep. As the night progresses, your REM starts, the first early REM starts around, say, 90 to 120 minutes after you sleep. But as you see, the amount of REM increases during as near your wake up time. So you see your REM is increasing. And during that time you dream. And what do you dream? Many a times you dream, and the REM sleep is very important because at that time, the body is very active, your brain is very active, but your muscles are paralyzed. All your skeletal muscles are paralyzed during REM sleep. Many a times you must have run after a thief in that period. You are not able to wake up your leg. That is your REM sleep, where you dream and where all your adjustments are done during sleep. It's a very, very active state. So how much should be the duration of all this sleep? Suppose you sleep for 7 to 8 hours. Your 5% should be of N1 type. And N2 should take 45%, where memory consolidation takes place, where you have sleep spindles and all that. And N3 should be 25%. Now, let me tell you, this stage 3 sleep of non-rapid eye movement is very important. And this is very important for your, I would say, the freshness of your sleep. And many a times, many a people I have seen in polysomnography, many have N1 and N2 sleep, but very few people have 25% of N3 sleep. And you must have 25% of your sleep should consist of REM sleep. So now to make it in short, so you have 3 stages. You're awake, very good. You're sleeping. You have 2 stages in sleeping, that is NREM and REM. And the most important, as you see, the NREM is known as a delta sleep or slow sleep or restorative sleep. Unless you come to this phase, your sleep is of no importance to your body. So during slow wave sleep, that is during NREM sleep, your cerebral glucose consumption is minimal. It's so beautiful. You are like a lotus at that stage, where you are totally taking very less things from the universe, and still you are blooming. And the next stage is very important, where your stress is gone. Whenever you are in NREM sleep, you have diminished sympathetic nerve activity. This sympathetic nerve activity, this sympathetic system increases all your, whatever happens in flight or fright, it is because of this sympathetic system. Your heart rate increases, you are anxious, you are palpitating. And as you see during restorative sleep, only in NREM sleep, your sympathetic nerve activity decreases. And there is increased vagal tone. My doctor friends must be knowing what is the importance of vagus and heart rate. You know, normally vagus is that, let me tell you, this is the 10th cranial nerve, which supplies your heart. So we Indians, we knew that the sacred thread, which was going back the ear, that stimulated the vagus and that kept your heart rate under control. Many a times, even when you do a Shankhanada, when you're doing a Shankhanada, you are in fact stimulating your vagus nerve, as a result of which there is decrease in heart rate, so decrease in blood pressure. So a simple increased vagal tone because you went into an REM sleep can just make your heart young and and I mean, you don't have to much worry about your heart problems. So in short, slow wave sleep is thought to be the restorative sleep. Now, this is one of my favorite, I would say, a vision of how is sleep. Sleep earlier was thought to be a passive process. That, well, you are sleeping, you're doing nothing. No. In fact, the child who sleeps for 20 hours is getting groomed maximally by the nature's school. The sleep is a school, natural school, where you're groomed to combat your waking state. So let us see, Narayana is sleeping, the operator of the universe is sleeping. How is it possible? We do certain things, we organize certain things. Alina must have not slept, who has organized all this, and how Narayana has slept. That shows the sleep which he is sleeping is different than what we are sleeping. And at an REM state, so whatever he's doing at the NREM state, in a restorative way he is doing, he's not anxious. He's not anxious, he's doing it so naturally. And what is Lakshmi ji doing? Lakshmi ji is giving all critical information through the sensory system to the sleep, to Narayana. And Narayana with the full bloom cortex in sleep, which is taken as Brahma, where all the lotuses are bloomed. He is getting the highest consciousness. The ultimate, the scripture always says, do nothing and accomplish everything. And this needs a lot of teaching, which someday I'll be teaching, but let's go to science. So sleep duration recommendation. So how much should you sleep at what age? Many of you have asked me questions regarding it. For you, particularly dear ones, these are your answer. A newborn 0 to 3 months should sleep 14 to 17 hours. It has a lower range, it has a higher range. An infant, 12 to 15 hours. And a toddler, 11 to 14. A preschool. I'm very excited about this. Many a times I tell to the mothers, because of this preschool, it is written preschool, but we always send them to school. We wake them up early. These children who go to these kids' schools, they have sleep deprivation. I request all of you not to be so harsh to our children so that they don't complete their sleep. So you should see that this preschool, they should sleep for 10 to 13 hours. School age, 9 to 11 hours. Don't be harsh to them. This is more important, more creative, and more memory consolidation will take place. In the sleep only, let them sleep. Don't be back of them for studying, because studying in fact is all about your brain activity, and brain marker is sleep. And young adult, 7 to 9 hours, and adults should sleep around 6 to 8 hours, and older adults, they're fine with 5 to 9 hours. It totally depends on them. Now, this is a very important statement. Sleeping less than 6.5 hours or more than 9 hours is associated with higher mortality. This is very important. This is very important to realize. If you sleep less, if you sleep more, you are dying. So we sometimes neglect our own scriptures where sleep has been well identified and importance of sleep has been well identified. Where in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "O Arjuna, yoga is not for one who eats too much or not at all, nor is it for one who sleeps or keeps awake in excess. So you have to have an optimization of food and sleep to be a yogi." And who is a yogi? Whose body and mind is so well communicated that he is able to understand the magic of Ishvara. So now, let us come now what has happened. Earlier, let us take it at 1942. People used to sleep a quite long hours in the night. And remember, when I mean sleep, I mean the night sleep, not the afternoon siesta added to it. If you have to sleep, you have to sleep for the whole night. It should be consolidated sleep, not in fragmentation. Well, I slept in the night, I slept in the afternoon, I slept. No, it is not like that. You have to sleep completely. So roughly in 1942, people were completely sleeping for 7.9 hours. In 90, straight, because of modernization, globalization, whatever you call them in different English names, you lost sleep. I have record till 2013, and I think by 2020, our children, most of us who are very gadget savvy, we are sleeping much less at a go. How many of us sleep continuous 8 hours or 7 hours, or do we have the capacity to sleep like that? Are we trained to play our brain to sleep the way the violinists play the wonderful tune? Are we trained to play the music of sleep for 8 hours continuously? I have a big doubt on that. So this is how the night looks. So serene. And because of this beautiful darkness in the night, after the sunset, when the moon has just come up with the glorious silver hue, and everything is dark around, a beautiful, a tremendous, adventurous, and a very, very creative, you can call it a hormone or a neurotransmitter, whatever, but hormone, as we say, is melatonin. This melatonin is secreted, and melatonin is like the referee. Once which shoots the gun, all the other run begins. It is not a sleep inducer, but it is an inducer of all hormones in harmony. Melatonin keeps all hormones in harmony, and provided melatonin is secreted, all your hormones will be harmony, and melatonin is secreted in darkness, not in light. So many a times, so simple insomnia or we are going through is basically about increase in light intake after sunset. Decrease your light intake after sunset, and you will see how the melatonin induces a harmony, a synchronization of so many hormones, which is known as, which maintains the circadian rhythm. Now that was what we are supposed to do, and this is what we are doing. So much of light. It is toxic. Light is a medicine. It is not a nectar always. It can be poisonous to your neurons. So by shutting your eyes, you can decrease your light. So be careful that you have an eyelid. Your light intake is under your control. You have just an eyelid, shut it, so that so much of light does not enter at a time where there is no light outside. And to add to the agony, look at the newer generation, the mobile, the laptop, and look at the hue of the light. I mean, I would say what you call it, how much light. It's like a radiation. It's like atom bomb radiation. It is radiation hazard. So we have to pay the price for cheating on sleep. We are cheating. We are cheaters. We have to pay the price for cheating on sleep. And it is very well recognized by our great seer Charak, where he says, Nidra yatam sukham dukham prushti karya balabalam vrishata klivata jnanam ajnana jivitam nacha. Happiness, misery, nourishment, emaciation, strength, weakness, virility, sterility, and knowledge, ignorance, life and death, all these occur depending on the proper or improper sleep. So in short, this is the first part of my presentation, the importance of sleep. The second part will be on immunity. The third part will be basically on the link between the sleep and the immunity. I do welcome you to ask me question regarding what you have learned. We will have an interaction of 10 minutes. Alina, are you there? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Alina?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
So we have finished the first part. Please allow them to interact. Then I will go into immunity. Now this is the importance of sleep. I've taught them. I've told them.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, if there would be like everyone would be asking at the same time, so that would lead to overlap of the questions.
So
So
that
for that,
depends on you. That depends on you. I'm here to ask because it's already
yes,
20
ma'am.
minutes.
We request all of you, whoever are interested in asking ma'am questions, they can raise their hand with the options available in the Zoom app, so that we can take your questions. Until that time, maybe ma'am, we can answer the questions which have been already asked by the participants. Yes,
You can ask them.
yes, ma'am. And the question was, what if we can't control our sleep routine? The first question was by the first registration.
So what was the question? Once again, please repeat.
Uh, yes. So what if we cannot control our sleep routine?
So why do you want to control it? You're having any problem? If you're having any problem, definitely that shows you have to do it. First, you have to think that now you have to work on sleep. So the way you work on, you go to gym, you decide it. So now the time has come that you have to work on sleep. And the most important part of sleep is that you have to sleep at one time and get up at one time. You cannot change your sleep time every night. So stick to one principle that I will sleep at one time. And then I will tell you the pre-sleeping rituals. But the first is that you must sleep at one time.
Ma'am, we can take the second question. It is
Yes.
if a tired person feels asleep for a long time, is there
Mm.
any effect on his or her immunity?
Please repeat. Just break.
Uh,
Please repeat.
okay,
Please repeat.
ma'am. The question is if a tired person is feeling asleep for a long time, and it has an effect on the immunity?
Definitely. First is that if you are tired, that means your sleep deprivation is there. If you're deprived, it is only sleep which can cure you. So by sleeping only, you can be refreshed. So whenever you are sleep deprived, sleep. Don't be conducive in sleeping when you're sleep deprived. And once you're totally the way, once your battery is charged, you don't need more charge. Once you sleep proper sleep and your sleep deprivation is gone, your sleep loss has been improved by your sleeping. Sleep deprivation, the cure is only sleep, nothing else. So you have to sleep when you're tired. And that definitely restores your immunity, which I'll be talking in my session.
Okay, ma'am, the third question, I don't know. It was asked, maybe you can answer it in a better way. Is it a sexual transmission? One had
Which
asked
one?
this question. I
What?
don't know, probably sleep.
Sleep is sexually, oh wait, well, you can tell me, it has a genetic, yeah. So see, sexuality means something is born out of it. And if you have a genetics, we will talk to the gene aspect of sexuality, because of there is a concept like the child is born. So the child has a genetic. So there are many sleep disorder which are related to genetics. For example, insomnia, it is mostly related to genetics. If your grandparents are having some sleep disorder, definitely it runs in the family. So if you want to ask me in that way, otherwise it is not sexually. If someone is sleep disorder, it's not a sexually transmitted disease like AIDS or syphilis or no, it is not.
Okay, ma'am, the fourth question is like, Why do we sleep for a longer duration in case of late night sleep? And following that question is, kindly share some tips to avoid sleep at noon. And third question of the same participant is, share some strategies to manage sleep during competitive exam preparation.
Okay. Now, yeah, as we know, sleep is of the brain, by the brain, for the brain. So wherever you are using your brain for a long time, we do get fatigued. Okay. And what is this fatigue? All of us know physics. Work is equal to force into displacement. So when we say we are working, it shows that we are doing something with force. Yeah. Same also, if you are reading with a force, you get fatigued very early. So if you do it naturally and if you enjoy what you're reading, I don't think you'll ever feel sleepy about it. It is your resistance to study which makes you a force, and that gives you a work as if you are reading a lot. The first thing is enjoy your study, you will not feel sleepy. Other than that, please eat less. It is always the five things of, as we have learned, that is Kakasnana, Vakadhyana, Swananitra Tathaivacha, Alpahari, Gruhatyagi, Vidyarthi, Panchalakshana. The five things a student must have is, the most important is that Gruhatyagi means not to be attached to any materialistic thing like your mobile and your laptop, as a result of which you spend a lot of time and you're stressed about it. We don't know that how much stress it does, but you must eat less, even to read better, so that you don't feel sleepy. And you should have a posture to study. You have to have a posture to study, otherwise you'll feel sleepy. And you should not sleep between sunrise to sunset. That should be a promise to yourself. And if you sleep in the afternoon, it should be a short nap, 10 minutes in your chair, not in the bed. The bed should be used only in the night, not in the afternoon. So sleep, I mean the bed restriction or the stimulus restriction, as we call it in cognitive behavioral therapy, not to use bed other than sleep and intimacy, is a very important way to maintain your sleep quality in the night.
Ma'am, apart from the questions which had been asked during registrations, we have some more questions in our chat box.
Yeah.
And they are, does
Yeah.
excessive sleep influence anxiety?
See, if your time is precious, if you're sleeping, that causes anxiety, but sleeping a lot never causes anxiety. If you have work and you're sleeping, it causes anxiety. But if you're sleeping work, it's relaxation. It totally depends on your management. But the optimum sleep you require is definitely 7 hours to 8 hours.
Okay, ma'am. Second question in our chat box is, sometimes while I am in deep sleep, it seems that I am falling from a tower and suddenly my sleep
Tell
breaks.
me,
What does it indicate?
please repeat.
Ma'am, it is said that sometimes while I am in deep sleep, it seems to me that I am falling from a tower and
Okay.
suddenly my sleep breaks. What does it
Okay.
indicate?
That shows that you are having, what you call it, yeah, improper sleep, where your REM behaviors are not proper. As a result, you have sleep pressure, you are sleep deprived. You are sleep deprived. And there is the cycle which contains non-REM and REM sleep. You do not have a proper REM sleep. So by sleeping only, you will develop, you are mostly sleep deprived. Sleep and you will see that these things will go away. You are having some sort of, I would say, what you call it, the movement disorders, like we have in sleep related to movement disorders.
Okay, ma'am. And another question is, sleeping in the afternoon, is it good or bad?
It's question of like what work you're doing. And second is that suppose you have normal work, sleeping just for 10-15 minutes, which is in a chair or dozing down for a while or calming yourself, is quite good, provided you are not, I mean, your stomach is not full. Like if you have a full stomach with rice and all those carbohydrate, definitely you'll fall very sleepy. So eating in such a way that you don't sleep, that's also very important. Your food should also be regulated to give you a good sleep at the proper time. If you have an unregulated food habit, you'll have unregulated sleep habits.
Okay, another question is, ma'am, please tell me if we are getting hallucinations during sleep. Sleep is not sound properly, or I think probably he or she meant that sleep is not sound properly. Does hallucination in the sleep
Yes, yes,
does
yeah,
it?
yeah. Yes, many a times it happens. You walk in the sleep, you talk in the sleep. Many a things, many a times it happens. So what you have is basically, I would say, not thinking it is a big disorder. First, let us first assess ourselves whether we have sleep deprivation or not. Unless you know whether we are sleep deprivation, how do we know sleep deprivation? Just a minute. I'm showing you features of sleep deprivation. This is very important. Most of us do not know whether we are having proper sleep, adequate sleep, or we are sleep deprived. The first thing which I've already shared, if you can see, it's about you should assess yourself whether you're having sleep deprivation or not. How do you know? Enhanced sleepiness, you're feeling more sleepy. And there is always a sleep rebound. It is like you want to sleep. And you have become very sensitive to kindling and pain stimulus. Like you're very emotional, like for everything you're sensitized. Your cognitive and memory impairments have started. You are performing in a gross way. You're not very articulated, or you are not very, I would say, very uh, pinpointed in your work. You're not able to do what you're supposed to do. And which I'm going to talk about is if you are having susceptible to infection, commonly you are infected by your GI problems or your common cold, or you're always infected, something that you're taking a lot of antibiotics for some other reason. If you have, that's called infection susceptibility, and you're depressed. If there is depression, you can know that you don't have what you call the sakaratmakata, or you don't want to do the spruha, you are not interested to do anything. That's depression. And for no reason, if you're fatigued, you don't want to get up from the sofa to get a glass of water. You want someone else to do it for you. You don't want anything to be done by you. You're not interested to help anyone at your cost. That is pure fatigue. And these are all symptoms of features of sleep deprivation. So first identify this. Unless you know this, all the rest of the questions you are asking me is a part of sleep disorder. I don't think it's so common, because sleep disorders are not, it's common, but not with your group. So first you see that you are not sleep deprived, sleep adequately.
This may be the last question of this session, and then you can continue, and we will take the rest of the questions. I think
In
the
the second
questions,
session.
yes, because the questions are non-ending. So, my daughter sleeps late and eventually gets up late in the morning. Is it okay to sleep around 3 a.m. and get up after 10:30 a.m.? Because the total hours of the sleep are fine.
That's very true, because in many shift disorder, shift workers, your people working 24 into 7 in some country, linking many a times that we are having different time of sleeping. But I would say we should synchronize our sleep with the sun and the moon, not with the watch, because it is the watch which has created so many problems, including your heart attacks, your asthma. If you are not naturally guided, your external clock is not actually the clock which is hanging in the wall. It is always the sun and the moon. So if you are not synchronized with the sun and the moon, you're going upbeat. I mean, you're the not in the same, I would say, in the same go. You're going in the opposite way. Definitely, you have to work hard for it. So I do not know if there is a study on this, 7 hours of sleep in the night and 7 hours of sleep in between the night and the day. Does it give the same parameters? I don't have a study to say, but definitely it is not the same.
Maybe, ma'am, you can continue with your next topic, and we can take the questions following that.
Can I talk to them for a minute so that I can I can hear their enthusiasm, so that I can connect with them for 1 minute and I can go back to my session?
Yes, ma'am. In that case,
Suppose I'm always like
Hello.
Namaskar, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Himesh,
Namaskar, ma'am.
all of you are here.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Are you liking the class?
Yes, ma'am. A lot.
Yes, ma'am. Very well. It is very fine.
Yeah.
For a long, long time. So nice to see you, Rajaram.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am.
Ashmita, good morning. We go to the Prabha Chaudhary. You're welcome.
Very good.
I'm a more here again.
Very well.
Anu, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We go to the next.
Ma'am, namaste.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Guru na?
Devi, should we go to the next session?
yes, ma'am. We can.
So basically, as you see, there are certain technical terms I'm going to be using in a very, very scientific way, and I would try my best to make it as simple as possible, so that you don't need a medical background to understand it, what is happening inside you. The best thing is that we doctors read it outside, which is happening inside us. So we have all the, I would say, we have all the power, being non-doctors, to know about ourselves. And that is the basic of all knowledge, that is self-knowledge, to make you understand the sleep and immunity link. That's my work now. So, sleep is not so, it's not very clear till now, like why we have to sleep and why we have to sleep so many hours. It's really not very clear what is exactly sleep doing with us and how it evolved in our living creatures, because we do not know whether non-living are sleepy or not. We really don't know many things. So in contrast to a lack of knowledge regarding the precise function of sleep, we do know why we have an immune system. So we know more about immune system than about sleep. So it is living organisms are subject to constant attack by various pathogens, and you agree. And the complex network of physical and biochemical components that constitute the immune system keep the organism alive. So in the first part, I told you the importance of sleep to live. And the second part is immunity, again equal to that. To survive, you need immunity. No immunity, we die. So immunity, as you know, is divided into two groups. In your computer way, that applications, which is by default. Then second, which is uploaded as per your necessity. The same way, by default, we have an innate immunity, which is natural, which is given to us naturally because we are of that species. Second, as we go on fighting with the environment, outside environment, inside environment, we develop certain immunity that is known as acquired immunity or adaptive immunity. So these are two types of immunity. Immunity is nothing but our what you call it, our fight against the non-self, which is not self, to fight against the non-self, which is not good for us. So acquired immunity further is again divided into active immunity and passive immunity. Active immunity, as we know, can be given to us naturally if we are infected, or artificially it can be created in us if we are vaccinated. Passive immunity is, again, we get it from our mother. That is the antibody of our mother. Or we can take it from outside, we can buy it from pharmaceuticals, different antibodies to combat different infection. So let us now understand, this is a little, I would say, um, that's very important for most of us to understand. It's not about being a doctor or non-doctor. So now let us look at the defense system in our body. We have a first line of defense. That is your skin. It is not allowing anything to enter inside. That is your physical barriers. Your cilia, there are small hairs in your respiratory system which is trying to trap the dust which is entering into your respiratory system. Your acids in your stomach. There are so many defenses you don't need. We have been already blessed with the first line of defense, and the mechanism, as you see, the skin protects us from so many viruses, bacteria, pathogens, so many antigens or non-self. It does not allow us to enter into our body. Yes. Okay. This is the first line of defense. In case something enters our body, we are ready. The way Odisha is ready to manage anything. Everybody is ready to manage the next step if there is a hazard or if there is some intrusion of non-self, and it is by innate immunity. And to face or to interact as the innate immunity, we have so many characters. They are your neutrophils, monocyte, eosinophils, basophil, dendritic cell, and how they're going to work. They eat up the antigen, or they eat up the non-self, or they eat up the foreign body. And once they eat up, suppose a single cell is eating up, that is known as phagocytosis. Eating up is phagocytosis. Have you seen crows? When they eat up, they don't eat alone. They make such sounds that other crows come and they will also eat. So one cell which has eaten up the virus will produce many cytokines, or there will be many secretion from the cells. They're called cytokines, chemokines, and this will bring other cells of innate immunity together to eat up the rest of the viruses, because one virus is not going to enter, many will enter. So many cells which help in innate immunity by phagocytosis and acute phase response, that is your fever. Suppose infection is there, how do you know? Many a times you will not know till you die. There must be certain symptom in you that says, oh, I'm having something which I don't understand. That is the best way, that of fever. There is increase in your temperature. And this body temperature is so naturally increased by the cytokines produced by these cells, that what happens naturally, because of the increased temperature, many infection dies, because increase in temperature also kills many cells. So this is what is happening naturally. Okay, innate immunity for some work or for some purpose, your innate immunity is not enough to kill the virulence of that virus. Now the next will come to the adaptive immunity. Now the difference between innate immunity and adaptive immunity is that the adaptive immunity, it has memory. Once it enters into the adaptive immunity, that non-self or the antigen or the virus or that particular virulence will be remembered by your body till death. That is very important. So adaptive immunity is still more powerful, which remembers. It will never forget. It will never forget its enemy. So to give you adaptive immunity, you have two cells. The T cells, that is your lymphocyte. There are two lymphocytes, your T cells and the B cells. I will be talking about it. But now I'll show you in the last, you have a, what do you call, a graph. Yes? You can see the graph? And the graph has two curves, a blue curve and a red curve. Now the antigen, we are exposed to the antigen. So to get a response to it by the adaptive immunity, which includes the T and B cell activation, it needs time for the primary immune response. For the first time, it is taking time. But look at the red one. which is for the secondary immune response because of the memory adaptive immunity has. The moment the second time the virus enters us, the same virus enters us, immediately we are ready with the requisite whatever we need to kill it. That is the beauty of our immunity system, which is happening inside us. You don't worry about it. You just have to sleep properly to get these things in tune. Now let us look a little bit about B cells and the T cells, which is part of adaptive immunity. What does the B cells do? B cells attack the invaders outside the cell. Yes? B cells, if it is outside the cell, if the cell is not infected, it is outside of the cell, the antigens are outside of the cell, B cells are going to produce something. And what do they produce? Antibodies or immunoglobulins. How do these B cells kill the antigen? By producing antibodies. And we have 5 types of antibodies, as just to give you a name, GAMED. So we have 5 types of antibodies. That is enough to make us safe. Okay. If our cells are infected, suppose we have an infected cell, so antibody cannot be produced for that. So what we do, these T cells come into action to eat up that infected cell. And there are varieties of T cells. They could be helper cells, killer cells, suppressor cells, and whatever it is. But the end result is that these T cells have memory. They remember. B cells don't have memory. If they're ignited, they just produce antibody as per the need. But T cells, which comes into action when the cell is infected, it is going to kill it by the killer cell. That's fine. But it remembers, it registers it. Okay, next time you come, I'm not going to leave you. This is the beauty of T cell, which is there inside you. So now let us look at this diagram. So some inflammation or some, as you say, some virus has entered. And first it has to combat with the innate immunity. Then it will go to acquired immunity. And the innate immunity or the combat or the fighting starts as quickly as possible. It does not need much time. And if it cannot kill by 1 to 3 days, then there is an intermediate time, which is 4 to 7 days, where this innate immunity hands over the problem to the acquired immunity. It takes little time. So by 7 to 9 days, we are ready. We are just ready. Our internal fighting system is ready for any devastation caused by the external force. The way Odisha is ready for anything. The same way you see, suppose a virus has entered, type 1 virus has entered, you can see already the immunity, the innate immunity has started working in the brown curve. Immediately it will rise to kill. Okay, it is not killed by it. The natural killer cells will come in the next and it will start working on it. By the 5th day of your infection, the virus titer is high. Never mind. We have the next, that is adaptive immunity, which has the B cells and the T cells, which will be coming. And once the antibody is formed against it, the virus has to die. By 12 days to 14 days, this happens. This happens because we have all these fighters ready all the time to fight for us. And as you see, what is this antibody? You know, this antibody, and already Israel says, Israel's Defense Biological Research Lab claims it has extracted antibody to neutralize coronavirus. I hope I make sense so that you understand what is this antibody. Antibody is produced by B cells. These are lymphocytes. They come into action in the second phase when adaptive immunity is called for. If innate immunity is able to suppress it, it's fine and good. Don't worry, we have another system, the higher system to do it. Now, this is a very messy, I would say, it's a very, like my father said, it's a very busy slide, but I want that. If I'm talking about COVID virus, then it has to be busy now. Look at the COVID virus at the top. It has spikes, S spikes. It is an RNA virus. It is an enveloped virus. And its antigenicity, you know, the antigenicity is changing. That's very important. And it enters our body through lungs, through respiratory droplets. So our lungs are prone to this kind of virus. Okay, it has entered. Then what next? If it has entered, what is it going to do with us? If we have sufficient innate and acquired immunity, adaptive immunity, nothing is going to happen to us. At every stage, we are fighting by producing so many chemicals which are called cytokines. But if we do not, we cannot fight, what will happen to our lungs? As it enters the alveoli, as you see, it enters the alveoli. In the alveoli, at this alveoli, as you see, is in connection with your arterial or the system which takes in oxygen. And what happens here is that because of the fight going on, that is increase in permeability, the fluid will come out of the alveolus and the fluid will enter also the alveolus. So you see there is fluid, the fluid accumulation in the alveolus because of the fight. And because there is fluid accumulation because of inflammatory condition, this will lead to alveolar edema. That shows that is accumulation of water in the alveolus. If something was a balloon which was just expanding when you were inspiring and which was shrinking when we were expiring, that is filled with balloon, definitely you cannot inspire and expire. So your increased work of breathing is due to fluid accumulation and you will have difficulty in breathing. So that's not a big thing. That happens many a times when we are infected. And to add to that, because of the cytokines produced, it will go to your brain, to the hypothalamus, and you will get fever. And the most important thing is that these cytokines, they charge the systemic inflammatory response. It causes system SIRS, that is systemic inflammatory, what you call it? Systemic inflammatory response syndrome, SIRS, systematic inflammatory SIRS. So these interleukins and these cytokines are going to go through the blood vessel to the heart, where they are going to form a system which will decrease your blood pressure, decrease your blood volume, decrease the perfusion in different organs, where you will have a multi-system organ failure. I hope I am making sense to make you understand that entry of your virus is through your lungs. We will not allow it to enter by just wearing a mask. That finishes, that stops there. Why to open it and see the virus enters? Just use a mask very often in your life so that it doesn't enter. Even if it enters, you have innate immunity and adaptive immunity. Till we take vaccines, we should be very careful that we take a little amount of these virus so that our body starts producing immunity by maintaining social distance. So maintaining social distance, the virus will enter our body through the nose or through the mouth, but it will be at a lesser dose for which we have time to produce our immunity. So this is a busy slide to make you understand it's a busy business which is happening now. We should be very careful. Just a simple thing by putting a mask, maintaining social distance, cleaning our hands, that will keep this and it will give time for our immunity system to become stronger so that we can fight. It recognizes first and is ready with the antibody till the vaccine is ready. So this is my second part of the talk, which speaks about, in general, about immunity and how our body is fighting against COVID and what we should do so that our lungs immunity is quite high. And you know very well, if you are a pre-asthmatic or asthmatic, you should take care. If you are a smoker, you know, these innate immunities, the first line defense has already been severed. So you should be careful if you are having all these lifestyle problems. If you are obese, you are not able to breathe properly, you are not able to take oxygen, you are not able to throw out carbon dioxide. There's a lot of problem there. So many a thing you have to consider when you are fighting against any virus or which is entering your lungs. So Alina, here I stop for the second roundup.
Hello.
Alina.
Yes,
Part.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have many more questions from the earlier session as well as from this session, and also few of our participants they want to directly interact with you
Wonderful.
by
I would
probably by telephone.
Yeah,
So
give
if
my
you allow
telephone.
us,
Please give my telephone to everyone. Make a WhatsApp group, whoever is, so we can have a WhatsApp group of this session.
okay, ma'am, that will be great. Okay, ma'am. Then from the question which I have left, or otherwise we can continue with the latest question. By wearing mask will make any other issues like over carbon dioxide inhaling.
So when you're telling a question, please say from whom. Please tell the name of
Okay, okay,
the.
yes ma'am, the question is from Mr. Hari Krishnan, and it is like by wearing mask will make any other issues like
Hari Krishnan is from which place?
I have to check, ma'am.
Please check. That gives a very important of getting communicated, identified.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Yes.
Um, Hari Krishnan. Okay, ma'am, hi, Mr. Hari Krishnan. He is from Kochi,
Oh,
Kerala.
yes. Hari Krishnan, your question is all about wearing a mask or you're having a carbon dioxide being, accumulated. I don't think, because we use cotton masks and we wear cotton dresses. So it is not accumulating like that, but mask will help you to decrease the virus load which goes into your, see, the whichever virus, name it coronavirus, MERS, SARS, whatever is happening around it, it is there around us. So whichever virus is new to us is going to cause problem. As you say, unless we are exposed to the viruses, we will never have the antibody against it. Neither our body will know to fight it. So we must be exposed. And it totally depends on the virulence. If you are exposed in a very large amount, it is going to cause lot of severity in the problem. But if we are exposed in a little amount, then we have time for our immunity system to build up the immunity. So I would request, by just wearing a mask and maintaining a social distance, that decreases the load of the virus. It's not nothing. It decreases the load of the virus, and it gives time for our immunity system to develop the acquired immunity, which has your T cells and the B cells, and the antibodies produced against it, and our T cells are ready to eat it up. So give some time to your immunity system. Get yourself exposed, but little by little. So wear your mask. Nothing is going to happen. You will not have carbon dioxide accumulation.
The second question is from Miss Nigda Maharana. She is from Cuttack, and the question is: how does irregular sleep for a longer time affect chronic allergy conditions like allergic rhinitis?
Allergic rhinitis. So this is a part which I'll be talking, Snigdha from Cuttack. This is about your sleep and immunity link, which is my third part of my. So I'll show you how your sleep irregularity is related to immunological disbalance or imbalance, which I'm going to show you in the third part. Once you hear that, I think it will be clear.
The next question is the user I'm unable to identify, but the question is, why do some people get difficulty in breathing while sleeping? What will happen to them if their immunity is very low?
See, when you are having difficulty in breathing while sleeping, first you must remember while sleeping, if you are snoring, that is a big marker that you are having obstruction while sleeping. That is known as obstructive sleep apnea. This obstructive sleep apnea is because of your weight, obesity, or your, I would say, some structural problem in your anatomical parts, which includes in taking in air and throwing out air. But first you must know that your weight should be adequate for your height. And I always say, if you take your height in centimeters, suppose whatever is your, suppose you are 6 feet, suppose you are 6 feet, and 6 feet you convert it into centimeter. So that is 180 centimeter. And minus 100, just roughly minus 100, your weight should be 80 kg. So to know your ideal weight in rough, I'm not doing a BMI, body mass index, weight by height square, I'm not doing. Just simply you do your weight in kg, height in centimeter. Height in centimeter minus 100 is your weight in kg, the ideal weight in kg. If your weight and height is matched and still you are having a breathing problem while you're sleeping, that shows that you have to show a ENT surgeon to find out any structural problem like sinusitis or a deviated nasal septum, or you are having asthma or not, you have to show a pulmonologist. So there are many things related to it. As long as you do not, your weight is comfortable, like weight is within your height, it should be the ideal weight you have, I think you don't have to worry, and still you have to show a pulmonologist particularly, or a sleep specialist who is having a breathing problem during sleep.
Our next question is from Mr. Bichitrananda Tripathi. He is from Barampur, and his question is, what are the home remedies for enhancing our immunity system?
I will be talking about it now in my third part. The home remedies I'll be talking in detail because I'll be linking now immunity with sleep. Should we go, because it's 12:15, should I go for the third so that we can take all the rest of the questions after this? Because I'm thinking they're asking me all the questions related to the third part of this lecture.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. We can do that.
Should I go?
Yes, ma'am.
Now the time has come. We know the types of sleep, the importance of sleep. Now the time has come to tell you about the link between sleep and immunity. And to make you realize it, you have heard it, that yes, your grandparents have also told you there is a link. But because they told you in their vernacular language, you never understood that it was so scientific. So now the point to ponder is that, why do we experience lethargy, malaise, that is what you call, pain throughout your body, and desire to sleep at the onset of infection? You have seen animals, your pet dogs and all that, they just sleep, they lose their activity. And from that you realize, well, someone is sick. So infection, not feeling well, and sleep, they go hand in gloves. And the second point you must, as I have noted and I've made you understand, is that why we say take rest or you will fall sick. Why do we do that? All your grandparents, all your elders, and if you remember your childhood days during afternoon, going here and there, they all will tell you, why don't you sleep for a while? Why don't you take rest? Otherwise you'll fall sick. Sleep. Then the third is the genuine question, like you have been asking me, is there a relationship between sleep and host defense system? That's called immunity. So to address to that, let me tell you how do you harm your immune system? I will start with dehydration. Many of us do not know that water helps to keep our internal environment. My students are listening to this. This is always their first class. They must be chuckling. So the internal environment, which is known as milieu interior in physiology, it has to be maintained. It has to be in a liquid stage. It's a fluid. Your inside is a fluid. You look like a solid, but you are made up of 70% water. So unless you are maintained in a 70% of water, all your bodily activity is not going to happen in synchrony and symphony. So dehydration is a very important, I call it, I mean, dehydration is a very important way which can harm your immune system. It can harass your immune system. And the second nowadays is sitting in front of the television or just watching a mobile, doing WhatsApping and all that, that is lack of exercise. You should have a proper exercise where your heart rate increases and comes down after exercise. You must have a proper exercise to sweat where you sweat. Your smoking habit, as I've told you, it keeps your immune system in a very bad state. And of course, our ignorance regarding life and living, which causes stress and anxiety, because much wants more. We run after something which does not exist. That causes stress and anxiety. It is basically due to ignorance. That also stuns your immune system. Alcohol, unhealthy diet, and last but not the least, which is the topic of today, the heroine of today, that is lack of sleep. What is this lack? You have an ideal sleep status which has been very well researched by so many scientists at which age level, how much should you sleep. So if you are not sleeping that much, there is lack of sleep. And it has been shown that your sleeping hours or your sleep duration is related to common cold. And in fact, sleep protects against the common cold, not those nasal sprays and so many things which you take through the pharmacy or many things. So I'm telling you a very simple way: sleep well and you will see your infection rate will come down. As you see in this slide, if you sleep 7 hours, you have a genuine, more than 7 hours, you have a genuine viral infection. Okay, you have to fight it and it's a genuine. But if you are sleeping less than 5 hours, your chance of getting common cold is 45.2%. That's quite high. So because sleep is basically, it's all yours, you have to do it. And that is the way you fight your common cold. Take care that you sleep and fight the diseases in a proper way. So likelihood of infections based on hours of sleep per night, as I've shown you. So average sleep per night, your chances of catching the common cold increases. So you see, if it is less than 5 hours, what happens? And if it is more than 7 hours, your immunity system is ready to fight anything, everything, anytime. Any time of the day, it is ready to fight. So now coming to the intricacy, which I think my students will enjoy. As you see here, we have organismal stress. And every organism goes through this sometime or the other. It could be cellular stress, acute inflammatory exposure. That is, inflammatory exposure means many infection can occur, acute sleep deprivation. And you have infectious stress also. You have organismal stress naturally happening to the organism in the way of living. By life itself, we go through so many things. And to add to the agony, if we are added with infection, like we are now added with infection, other than what our living, that is intracellular pathogens and virus exposures. So what is going to happen in the periphery, that is other than the central nervous system? So you see there is a term called CNS, central nervous system, which means brain and spinal cord. Other than that, whatever is taken as periphery. So in the periphery, in the blood vessel, in the different type of cell, what is being produced is that antimicrobial peptides are being produced, as you see. Antiviral cytokines are being produced, and antiviral cytokines, again, they produce inflammatory cytokines, again, antiviral, it goes on. So in the periphery, things are being produced, manufactured to fight. But what is happening in the central nervous system? As you see, these peripheral cytokines, they interact with the brain. And this inflammatory mediators, as you see, are also brain mediators. And because of the inflammatory mediators produced to fight against the virus, these inflammatory mediators also work in the brain. So during when you get infected, you have total sleep time is increased. So it is a natural way that when you are infected, it is by sleep you are cured most of the diseases. So by sleep itself, naturally you fall asleep because you're infected, and it is mediated by the cytokines produced to fight these viruses or the pathogens. And what happens in the sleep architecture, what you will see NREM sleep will increase and the REM sleep decreases. So when you are having infection and you're feeling lethargic, you don't feel like going, you have temperature at the sleep level, there is a change in the architecture when NREM levels are increased. So what I am trying to put here is that sleep and immunity go in hand because of these inflammatory mediators which work on the immunity as well as on sleep. So these inflammatory, these cytokines, if you come to the last box, you have so many markers to show you that there is a link between the immunity and sleep. That is type 1 interferon response genes are increased. The T helper cell associated response is increased. There is increase in interleukin 2 and interleukin 12, and there is decrease in interleukin 10. And what it results is that it increases the antiviral immune response. So forget about the complexity of it. Remember, the mediators that are produced by the immunological system are also being used to protect you at the brain level by increasing your sleep. So whenever you are not well, you will see sleep like a mother is going to protect you. So don't be harsh to yourself by not sleeping and engaging yourself into gadget and having sleep deprivations. So here I show you something very interesting, which maybe you will appreciate once I start explaining it. Just I'm bringing this down here. So you see at the brain level, you have all these stages, very good. And because of the sleep, so many hormones are produced like growth hormone, adenocorticotropic hormone, and so many things are being produced. So what I want to put forward is that if you do not sleep adequate and you're sleep deprived, you come to the bottom part, that is infectious disease and vaccine response. This is very important. You will not only be prone to infectious disease, but the vaccines are not going to produce as much of antibodies it is supposed to produce if you have a good sleep. It is seen that those who have taken hepatitis B vaccines, if they have only slept for 4 hours, they're sleep deprived, they have never formed the antibody properly. So to sleep, even if you have to sleep to get the proper vaccine response and the antibody to be produced. So the pearls to remember from today's class is sleep regulatory mechanism and immune system share regulatory molecules. That's very important. They have common regulatory molecules between immunity and sleep. Cytokine interleukin 1, tumor necrotizing factor involved in both NREM regulation and acute phase response to infection. So not to make it very dramatic to the non-doctors, but to tell you something is that along with the cytokines, it also modifies your immunity system, also modifies many neurotransmitters like prostaglandin, nitric oxide, and adenosine, which are the normal constituent of the brain that regulates sleep. So to make you understand it's so easy. You sleep externally, detach yourself from the external and go into sleep. Your internal is just fighting well. So the message for today to everyone is sleep well to fight well. Thank you so much. Give it. If you want to give something to your beloved, give sleep. Thank you so much. This is the institution where I work, and I'm very proud to work here. And I'm so happy that I've connected with you through sleep, which is a very, very juicy topic in my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And now we are going to take the next questions.
Yeah.
I'm just checking what are the questions. Okay. Ma'am, this is a question from, just 1 minute, ma'am. To check from which place. So, ma'am, this is a question, okay, from Kerala. Like in Kerala, in cities nowadays, we find many turfs coming up, and many used to play football, cricket in the late evening, mostly from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So, is this a healthy thing? As
No,
we
no.
find tired and fall asleep after dinner. Also, in the morning, wake up late.
So, what is his name?
Just one, ma'am. Name is Mr. Sarnath.
Mr. Sarnath, thanks for asking this wonderful question. Like many people are acclimatizing
Sorry, ma'am.
themselves.
Sorry, ma'am. The name is Mr. Sarath. Mr. K. Sarath.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can hear.
Yeah. Sarnath, you see, you have done it to yourself. Why do we first exercise? We exercise to get vitamin D. So at whichever you are exercising or playing, do you have sun rays then? What is the use of playing at night when you do not have sun around? You do not have vitamin D, developing vitamin D inside you. Why do you play then? It's of no use. It's like a capsule which has no medicinal value. And moreover, the more you exercise towards your sleep time, you get more excited. You need a calming. I showed you that the night with moon and all that. That is exactly how you induce sleep inside you. Just playing will activate you, and you will not be able to fall asleep. And sleep, I mean, particularly your exercise it should be synchronized with sun rays, which will keep you away from so many disorders. At night, you get nothing. So why do you play at night? It's not the time to play. It's the time to relax and contemplate on the whole day's work. Next.
Next question is from Mr. Mohammed Saddam, and his question is. And his
Saddam
question
is my student.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, ma'am. So, does less sleep leads to eye problems?
Less sleep, definitely it is seen nowadays that if you don't sleep because of the gadgets, and why you are not sleeping, you're using your eyes for some reason, that shows that definitely you will have so many refractive errors, your powers will increase, your pressures will increase, and definitely there will be complication in your ciliary body muscle where the accommodation will, and you'll have pain. Many a times it happens during my final year also. It happened, Saddam, that because I was studying for a long time, my pupils shrunk to medially, as a result of which I became a squint. So if you don't sleep and you have to take rest, your sleep is, in fact, it will take care of your eyes. There will be eyes problem if you do not sleep adequately.
Okay, next question, ma'am, from Dr. Subhas, and his question is how we can bring our sleep cycle to order, because during this lockdown, even if working for a whole day, we are having sleep issue in our usual time.
See, first you have to find out a time to sleep. First, I told you there are few commandments which is known as sleep hygiene, or it can be told in a scientific way. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. You have to change your behavior to get quality sleep. The first behavior you have to change is that you must have a proper time, a particular time to sleep. Suppose I see that by say 10:30 I have to sleep, so that I get up by 6:30 or 6. I have adequate 8 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep. So what I have to do is that I have to have certain sleep rituals, to shut down a computer. You have a method. If you do not shut down in a proper method, you lose many data. You just can't fall asleep whether if you do not go through the religious path of putting your computer down. The same way, to get a good sleep, you must first know in the sunset, you must realize the sunset has come. Now it is the time of night. Your night life should be different than your day life. Your work or your day life cannot continue by just putting in the bulbs and the CFLs, and your CFLs don't make a night into a day. It is very, very injustice to the nature to think that putting CFLs and bulbs that you have made a night into a day. Your body, whether you like it or do not like it, it is under nature's command. So how much we astray our body from natural laws, we have to face the consequence. So wherever you are, first realize the sunset. Always give whatever you want to do for a 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just realize now the day is over, the night starts. First realization the night has come is very important. With the night comes the sweetest thing, which is equal to thousands of barrels of alcohols. It is said a person who sleeps in N3 sleep is never addicted to anything, because that sleep is the best addiction and it keeps you away from all the other addiction. Anyone who is not having N3 sleep or not adequate your slow wave sleep or the stage 3 sleep, NREM stage 3 sleep, is definitely addicted to something, to a cigarette or to a gadget. A sleep, if you realize that yes, to develop my sleep, I must find out the right time to sleep. And before sleeping, I should see that my eyes don't take enough light. It should not take light. You should decrease in your light intake. You should not watch anything. You should listen. So if you ask me, the best way to sleep is first find out which is the right time for you and plan 4 hours earlier towards sleep. And what is that planning? Keep away yourself from bright light. Listen to radios. You can listen. You can read, but you should not be exposed to the irradiating light from computers and mobiles and televisions. And you should eat less. You should eat less, but one thing is that you should take enough to keep you. I mean, you should not have hunger pangs while you are sleeping. And another thing is that you must have a sleep ritual. You should do something to say that your body is going to sleep, whether it is a rosary or a Gayatri or a Gayatri mantra or something, or take a bath, something to show that yes, this is now it's sleep, nothing else. Your body should know that you're shutting down. You should have a sleep ritual before sleeping. Otherwise, your body will never fall into sleep. And you should realize that your night life and day life are different. They should not be similar. You should change your lifestyle for day and also for night.
Next question is from Miss Deepti. She has asked, hello ma'am, how does sleep affect PCOS?
PCOS, okay. Yes. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you see, polycystic ovarian syndrome is a menstrual disorder. It's commonly seen in young age now because of the disturbed circadian rhythm. You know, sleep is something which keeps your circadian rhythm, your internal clock, your biological clock in order. So once your biological clock is in order, all your hormones are in order. And if your hormones are not in order, you'll slowly get into obesity. Your your weight increase is basically due to hormonal disorder, which is not synchronized with the natural sunlight. So unless you sleep and wake up at the right time and you do not synchronize with the natural light, definitely you will have a disharmony in your hormones. And that is the commonest cause of PCOS, that is polycystic ovarian disorder. Just that they do one thing, be synchronized with sunrise and sunset. You will see most of the disorders related to such fine tuning of the internal environment will vanish. It takes time, but 1 day of synchronization will not help you, but definitely 6 months, 1 year of synchronization will change your internal environment.
The next question is from Mr. Rajaram, and he is asking how to increase the sleep quality in osteoarthritis patients.
See, osteoarthritis patient are so much in pain, and every little movement will they will become awake. There will be alpha delta intrusion. Like for every movement in the posture, they'll get up, and their sleep will be they'll not find a continuous sleep. So depending on what they are taking, what anti-inflammatory they are taking, or what they are taking, what orthopedic surgeon has prescribed them, so that their pain is lessened. So it is only if there is a decrease in pain they'll be able to sleep, but that's a big thing to see that those who are in pain, how to make them sleep. So they should, I think they should consult a sleep specialist or sleep consultant, and they have to talk and they have to take few sessions and to be, I would say, assessed properly so that they get good sleep. But it's very difficult because of pain. It's very difficult to sleep.
The next question is from Mr. Swarm Mishra, and he has asked whether the work performed prior to night sleep has any effect on it.
Work performed prior to night sleep.
Prior to.
Like what work?
Let
me tell you, if it is a physical work, well, you are losing your sleep. If it is a mental work, you're studying something, then from short-term memory, if you go to sleep after that, it will be converted into long-term and memory consolidation will appear. But it is always wise to decrease your physical activity in the night and increase your mental activity if you are a scholar. So physical activity will not help you in the night. So try to do all your mental activity. I mean, which you want to remember, that goes into memory consolidation.
Miss Madhura from Bangalore, she has appreciated and also thanked for your informative session. And then next question is from Mr. Sarath. He is asking, okay, we have already covered. Okay, no. In Kerala, in cities nowadays, we find many terms. This probably we have covered, ma'am, this question. So I can move on to next question. Hi, Arpita ma'am, what is the effect of late night study till 2 to 3 p.m. on immunity if they will complete 6 to 7 hours after that?
See, let me come to the simple levels of cortisols. Cortisols, they are very high, and your growth hormones are very high prior to your sleep, and it is always related to the sunrise also. What harm in synchronizing your sleep with sunrise and sunset? Suppose you want to study. Why don't you sleep from say 8:30 to 3:30 and start your study from 3:30 then onwards? Because that is the best time when, the whole day you start, you need after a whole day, say around, you started your day from 11 a.m. and you've been working a lot. Don't you think you need a rest? You need a rest, you need a pause, you need a full stop for some time, that's sleep. And you start it again. So what happens when you're continuously working from 11 a.m. till 3 a.m.? That is, I think your performance level will decrease. Why don't you take a break by sleep? And it should synchronize naturally with night. What harm if we sleep by 8:39? How do we become villagers by sleeping, or we become knowledgeable, or we become, I would say, enlightened, that we sleep at the right time so that we can perform better psychologically, mentally, in the early morning where your cortisol level is very high. When your cortisol level is very high, your memory consolidation, your fighting activity, everything internally, your immunity is so high. So I would suggest that please try to synchronize yourself with sunrise and sunset.
Okay. The list of questions are many, ma'am. Would you like to answer them, or
Yeah.
we should? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Then the question is from Mr. Sarath. He is also from Kochi, and he is asking, why is it that we feel sleepy in the noon time after lunch, and also in case I am sleeping, it will last for 2 hours. So is this a good sign?
No, it's not a very good sign. 2 hours sleeping in the afternoon is, I would say, it's a prime time of your physical work. So what has happened is that when we take food, our food is taken in the stomach, and because food enters the stomach, all the blood circulation goes there, and our blood circulation to the brain decreases. Because for digestion, we need a lot of blood circulation. It is because decrease in blood circulation during digestion we feel sleepy. And moreover, when you take rice and all that, it has its own effect, and prostaglandin also has menstrual cycle, it has its own effect. But I would say, eat so in such a way that you don't sleep in the afternoon. Sleeping is not very good for health. Because why I say so, because to get a good sleep you have to be hungry, you have to keep your neurons under sleep pressure. Suppose if you are not hungry, you cannot eat. If you're not hungry for sleep, if you sleep in the afternoon, your sleep pressure is not increased, and you will never feel sleepy. So feeling sleepy, to make yourself sleepy, you have to prevent yourself from dozing in the afternoon for 2 hours. And that is not a continuous sleep also. You have to sleep for 7 to 8 hours. And that makes sleep effective. Sleep is not effective in 1 hour or 2 hours. Sleep becomes effective when it is for 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours. It does its work. It takes time to work. If you are sleeping for 2 hours, then you get up. Then sleep is not effective. And moreover, if you sleep in such a way that your sleep pressure is not created and you don't feel sleepy in the night, then what use of sleeping in the afternoon? It spoils your night sleep. Okay.
Okay, and before we close today's informative webinar by you, ma'am, I would
Thank you.
also like to thank. I would also like to thank all of, most importantly, all our participants of the webinar for their
Correct.
time and participation.
Oh, sure.
And though the 1 hour 30-minute session was not enough to clear all their doubts, so everyone, maybe we can they can join in your which we can create and call you, and we have shared the number, your number, with all of them, so they can ask you questions directly if they have any support needed or any other questions or queries to be answered.
Okay, Alina, it was real. It was a kind of experience for me working. This is the first virtual class I've given, and thank you for opening another, forum in my life that I can. Yes, we can do all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we are extremely grateful, ma'am, for your thoughts. You shared your thoughts and experience with us, and also answered many of the queries which all our participants had. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, dear ones. God bless you.